Yo, call me a Galaxy 3 the way I'm about to be inside me. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage today, and only today, we are here to talk about the potential of a Super Mario Galaxy 3. Now, I know it's not the most original idea. I know people have talked about this for years, but I kind of wanted to give my take on it, what ideas I would have of a potential Galaxy 3, or why I'm even bringing it up. And the thing about it is, I feel like Nintendo's doing a lot, right? This is coming off of last night. Nintendo just announced that they're updating Mario Tennis Fever with a bunch of new Galaxy content. They have like, you know, a Galaxy level. They're adding new like color variants to the Luma. The stage is pretty sick too. They're adding like, you know, a black hole tennis racket. Like they've just did a whole like Galaxy themed update to the game. And obviously this isn't the first Galaxy themed thing that's happened this year. We had the Galaxy movie, obviously that was huge. We had a Rosalina that was added to Super Mario Bros. Wonder Meet Up My Meet at Bella Bell Park. We had Mario Galaxy 1+2 remasters dropped on the Switch in the fall, and I don't know, it just feels like it's a lot of Super Mario Galaxy. Now, obviously, I'm not complaining. I love Galaxy, one of the best 3D Marios, and it is interesting to see Nintendo sort of like finally tapping into people that grew up with Galaxy, because you gotta remember, like, Galaxy 1 came out in 2007. That is an almost 20-year-old game now, which I hate saying that out loud, right? But it is. It's an almost 20-year-old game now, and I feel like, you know, now the people that grew up with it are older, right? And it's like, it's that time, you know, companies always find that time where it's like, all right, it's time to bring that nostalgia in. People of, you know, that grew up with Galaxy are finally way older. Let's get them right back in. And I know what you're thinking, right? Like, all right, well, a lot of the Galaxy stuff was for the movie, right? But even the movie, right? We all kind of agree it was crazy for them to just go to Galaxy right away as the sequel. You know what I mean? Like, I almost feel like a Mario Galaxy movie could have been like the finale of these Mario movies. You know what I mean? Like, it deadass could have been like Mario Sunshine. They could have done a Mario Odyssey movie. They could have done a Mario World movie. Yeah, they could have done a bunch before they went to Galaxy, but they opted for Galaxy next. Now, I know the reason they're like, oh, well, you know, it made sense for our most ambitious thing to be in space. But, you know, we even saw with how they themed it as a Galaxy movie, they didn't do like the greatest job at representing Galaxy incredibly well. It was a fun Mario movie overall, but it wasn't like the best Galaxy movie. And I guess for me, right, what piques my interest too is like, you know, the entire 40th anniversary of Mario, funny enough, has felt like it has been a celebration of Galaxy. Yeah, like I said, like everything I listed just feels like everything has been very much Galaxy themed. Now, Galaxy is something that people have wanted for a long time, right? The elusive Super Mario Galaxy 3. Now, here's my thing, right? If you want my, you know, my first take on it, I feel like I don't want it right now. You know, that's like my biggest thing when I think about it. It's like, I don't want it right now because we are now on almost a decade since the last 3D Mario, right? It has been literally 9 years since Super Mario Odyssey. I know some people are going to tell me Bowser's Fury, right? But, you know, Bowser's Fury, side dish, kind of like, you know, a part of a repackaged version of 3D World. So it's been 9 years since the last mainline 3D Mario. And obviously they're making one, they're cooking one. I know a lot of that team was also working on Bonanza, so maybe that's why it took them longer. But I don't know. I'm so hungry for a new 3D Mario that, like, of course, I'm going to be hyped and incredibly excited for a Galaxy 3. But you know, some part of me would be surprised if they didn't just make an original idea, because the thing about 3D Mario is it always has been a representation of that generation for Nintendo. You know, with the 64, it was like, all right, boom, here's what 3D can be. You know what I mean, right? With Sunshine, it was the weird vibes of the GameCube, right? Like, you know, Sunshine, even though not the perfect game, it fits the theme of the GameCube because the GameCube has so many weird Nintendo first-party games. Like, that was when Nintendo was really in their weirdest, I feel, in the GameCube era. And I feel like Sunshine as a concept for a 3D game definitely fits that vibe. Galaxy was, you know, scope and scale, right? Like, cinematic 3D Mario experience, right? Like, that was, you know, showing you that this can be more than just a platformer series. It can really like hit you personally, whether it's the story stuff, the music, the space vibe, the grandiose nature of it. And then obviously you got Odyssey, which was like, oh yeah, no, what, yeah. as I was saying, right, I'm so hungry for a brand new 3D Mario. And, like I said, Odyssey felt like it represented, the I guess, what do you want to call it? Like the open world sandbox nature of a 3D platformer. Like it really did have its own energy, right? It brought back what classic Mario could be. And now, I'm looking forward to the future, right? Like a Galaxy 3 would sort of be hitting the same notes of a Galaxy 1 and 2. And, Galaxy's already a sub-Mario franchise that, like, has done a sequel, right? It's very rare that a Mario game gets a sequel. Not very. I mean, if you think about it, like, we got, Galaxy 1 and 2, and we got 3D Land and 3D World. And you could argue we got Odyssey and we got Bonanza in some way, right? Like, technically a sort of sequel to, like, the gameplay concepts of it. So I'd just be so curious to see, like, how would they make a Galaxy 3 be real unique? And I guess I'm here to talk about that a little bit, right? Like, what would all right, let's say, we got out of the way. I don't necessarily want a Galaxy 3, but obviously in the realm that they would do one, right? What would I want to see and what would I want it to be? I feel like first and foremost, I'd want it to feel interconnected. Right? I think that's like the first and foremost idea that I'd like with a Galaxy 3 is I want it to feel like, all right, if we're doing this, maybe I genuinely can launch myself from one planet to another. Maybe there's even like a mini game you do in the process of jumping from one planet to another where, like, you have some sort of interactivity. I feel like, yeah, an intergalactic galaxy, that's interconnected, that you can travel from one to another seamlessly would be fantastic. I think, like, that's something that, like, I would love first and foremost. And I think what they need to do, and people have made this joke before, I would love if they framed it as like a Super Mario universe, right? Or even like Super Mario Galaxy, but like, what if you really had the full exploration of a planet? Right, like, the sort of way, you had the sandbox levels in what's called in Odyssey, you had that in like a Galaxy 3, right, where potentially, like, there would be imagine like for example a Metro Kingdom planet, right, where, like, Metro, it's a city planet that's huge, right, but it's like Metro Kingdom, but it's like way bigger, you have way more buildings, you have way more areas, right? I think like that's something I would love to see. Take the concept of what Odyssey did with the big open levels, but put them in like the Galaxy setting, with the Galaxy type, aesthetic and vibe, and the mini planets that you have. Like, you could do something really crazy there. Another thing I'd love to see if they were going to do it was, I want them to be extremely weird this time around with this Mario game. So I felt like Odyssey did this thing where, they went with the quote-unquote realistic, the juxtaposition of, like, Mario is a cartoony character in, like, realistic places, like, Metro Kingdom is just a normal looking city. The Sand Kingdom is very much like a regular desert with some, like, little town stuff in it. The forest level even is like a regular forest that, that feels broken down. Like, it felt like they were going sort of with this vibe of, like, cartoony with realistic. I don't want any of that for the next game. If they were going to do a Galaxy 3, I would want them to go all in on how weird the Mario world is. And it even, you can make it dark or creepy or weird or whatever you want to do for this next game. If it was going to be a Super Mario Galaxy 3, right, I would love it to, lean into that space aesthetic, but go even darker with it. Like, what if we really are going to, like, the depths of space where, like, Mario and, Co are discovering, like, really weird things? I think that would be, like, a cool way to frame it. Like, what if they truly were going to, like, the center of the universe, or they're in this other galaxy that, like, is genuinely, like, really, really weird. Obviously, I don't want Mario to be, like, dark and gothic and all that, but, like, make it weird, right? I want it to be, like, where, like, everything is, like, odd and Odyssey, odd and weird and like random. I think something like that could go extremely hard with, like, a Galaxy aesthetic and thing going on with it. Like, that's one I'd love to see in there. Another idea I had for it was the inventory system from Bowser's Fury. So if you guys remember in Bowser's Fury, you would have like these items, you know, that you could store, right? You would have like a little storage for, you know, the boomerang items, the cat bell. I would actually like to see that brought back in some way if they were to do a Galaxy 3, or maybe like, all right, you could go back to certain plants and be like, oh wait, now that I have this like power up, I can go back to this area. That would be a very cool concept. You know what I mean? I love the idea. I've always loved that idea. Now, granted, some of this, I don't know how it would work for a Galaxy 3. And this is like sort of like the problem we get into with Galaxy 3 is like, if it's a Galaxy 3 and I'm giving an idea that like it's an Odyssey, like, is it Galaxy then? Because like, what makes Galaxy Galaxy? Does the controls make it Galaxy? Is it the space theme, or is it the linear level style of the game? Because that's one thing I want you guys to tell me in the comment section below is like, do you want the next 3D Mario to be like do you want it to be open areas with like a main objective, or do you want it to be, you know, linear levels like it used to be, right? Because I feel like people, like, I almost think like people don't understand that like Odyssey technically does do linear missions, right? There is always a main goal that you can just go do in Odyssey. It's just that, you know, it's surrounded by an area of stuff where you can platform and have fun. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to do in this game. You want to maximize platforming, movement, all that stuff, right? You want to move as much as you possibly can. And so I feel like if they were to do a Galaxy 3, I also would want them to fix the movement, right? Galaxy is notorious for having, I feel like, the least, you know, fun movement in Mario. Like, I feel like the N64 movement is so good. I feel like even Sunshine, for as many flaws as that game has, you know, doing backflips into midair, jumps into the hover and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool tech you could do. Odyssey is peak, but Galaxy, like, the movement is way slower, and it just doesn't feel like you have as many options. So I would love to see, you know, an update on the move set and, you know, move list of the game. But I also feel like, again, I would even love if they took the concept of Wonder, right? You know how Wonder has like the Wonder flowers where everything gets weird and crazy. I think that idea can be like leaned on a lot on a 3D Mario game, right? Like, I feel like, obviously, don't just steal the Wonder Flower. That's, you know, Super Mario Wonder's thing. But like, you know, the idea of a mechanic or gimmick that makes, you know, everything around you weird and crazy would be super fun. Although, like, I guess the problem with Super Mario Wonder is like when you do replays of the game, some of them are very gimmicky and like they don't stand out as much, you know, as the first time you do them. But yeah, something like that would be really cool. Obviously, I want, you know, new power-ups. I want new creative ideas from the team. But there's like a lot you can do with a Galaxy 3 that'd be so exciting, right? So I gave the idea of the interconnected level, right? That's one. That would be really cool. Now, I wonder, right? I wonder if they would go with the multiple playable characters again. Because I do feel like Nintendo has sort of put themselves in this position where, like, you know, Peach is playable, Mario is playable. I still think, and I'm sure you all agree, I still think it is unbelievably criminal that what they did to Peach in Super Mario Odyssey. Like, they did this whole thing in the post game where she has her own version of Cappy with like the tiara girl. She's getting all her own outfits. She's going to explore. I'm like, damn, bro, you didn't make her playable. You didn't think it would be a fun, like, unlockable to have her do missions. Like, that's crazy to me. And I almost like would love if that next 3D Mario, imagine it was just Mario and Peach, right? I think that would be such a sick concept. Maybe it was Mario and Peach and they just have to go stop, you know, Bowser from, you know, taking the, you know, what if they, let me tell you about Bowser taking Rosalina, right? But no, I mean, unironically, what if they did something like that, and because of the whole Galaxy movie thing where Peach and Rosalina are, you know, seemingly siblings now, they sort of lean into that aspect for the next game. There's also the possibility that what they do is they make a Rosalina game. There was let me look this up really quick. I'm pretty sure Nintendo trademarked this. Yeah, it was this right here that I found interesting. This was back in April. Nintendo has recently filed 2 trademarks. One trademark for Rosalina, right? And, you know, which could serve as her official game or means of protecting the trademark. The other is for Brain Age. Right now, I think, dude, could you imagine, right? Like, hear me out, you know? We get a big mainline Mario as the thing, right? But you get a Galaxy 3 or a semi-Galaxy-like game, but it's starring Rosalina and Peach. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they already set up that dynamic between them, right? You know, and we've had a taste of, you know, what a Peach game can be like, you know, multiple times they've experimented with. But like, what if we went all out? You know, we no longer did this bullshit where like, you know, it's half-assed or it gets a weird spin-off. Like, what if it really was like a genuine full platform? Because listen, I do think it's time, right? I'm not here to be like, oh my God, you know, we need the girl game. Like, it has to have it just because they're girls. But like, no, I mean, I love Peach, right? Specifically, like, I love playing as Peach in the spin-offs. I think she's super fun. I think she's super cute, right? I think Rosalina is awesome. And I even love Daisy, right? And so I do feel like it is time for, you know, these characters to get like genuine shine, right? Because Luigi, like, you know, is doing fantastic with Luigi's Mansion. That's his series. He is cooking with it, right? Like, it feels wrong that like, even like Captain Toad, I feel like Captain Toad is a like much better made game than, you know, a Princess Peach Showtime or, you know, an OG DS Super Princess Peach. Like, I still think like the Nintendo Girly Pops deserve like a genuine great game, not a game where people are like, oh, this is a cool spin-off, oh, this is cute. Like, it needs to be a game where people are like, yo, this is fucking awesome, right? And I love this. I think giving a Galaxy spin-off game to Rosalina and Peach might be Nintendo's smart way of getting best of both worlds, right? Like, Mario continues to evolve with like a cool new idea, right? And then you get a game that's focused around Rosalina and Peach. They get different costumes, they get different abilities, ultimates and all that. Because, you know, Nintendo hasn't really experimented too much with, like, I guess they have with Mario and Luigi. I was gonna say, like, you know, a game where like you have to simultaneously play as two characters for certain puzzles and gimmicks. But I feel like they could do something really clever if they locked in. I mean, if any company is going to do something weird and crazy, it's going to be Nintendo. But that's really my thing is I want a Galaxy 3. I think a Galaxy 3 is an incredibly good idea to do, you know, especially, like I said, they've just been pandering to Galaxy like crazy. It just feels like I would be shocked if it didn't lead to something. Now, granted, again, all this Galaxy stuff could have just been for the movie, ultimately. You know, maybe we're just overthinking it, but I don't know, man. Like I say, it's weird to just suddenly lean on Galaxy like this. And then what? We're just going to pretend like, you know, we did nothing with it, because, you know, I'm sure the next game is going to be completely random. But yeah, I'm starting to lean on it like that. I think the next 3D Mario is going to be its own idea. I don't know what it's going to be, man. Like, I've said this for a while. I feel like the next 3D Mario is going to be a massive open world. I know some people are tired of open worlds, but I feel like with Mario, you could do a lot of clever stuff. Maybe they're making an extremely fleshed out Mushroom Kingdom. But I also wouldn't blame them if they went back to linear levels that were like some of the greatest levels in the series, potentially. But at the same time, you know, do we want fully linear levels back? I don't know. It's so hard with Mario. There's so many ideas. There's so many things. Let me know, obviously, in the comment section below what you want to see, right? But look, at the end of the day, you know, even Miyamoto's commented on this, right, before. He said, like, I would love to revisit Galaxy if the hardware was right. And, you know, like, I think with the Switch 2, the hardware is great. You know, you can do, like, fucking 4K 60 FPS on a lot of these games. I'm not sure what the gimmick could be. I mean, you could use, I guess, the mouse controls as a pointer. But I think like a Galaxy 3 that had an interconnected galaxy where you really could explore planets as planets, you know, where they were huge. And there was so much to explore to them. And you encountered really weird characters. And you had gimmicks that, you know, really blew your mind. But then you could just, you know, press minus on the map, select the planet, see Mario, you know, get on, you know, some kind of cannon or like, you know, the star spin thing, and then jump to another world would be really cool. And you could see the process of him jumping to it. That would be like really, really sick. And you could have like, maybe you could have a thing where like when you're flying to a planet, there's a mini planet to the side that you can, you know, turn to, right, if you wanted to go there. Like, really lean on the fact that, wow, I am genuinely exploring space right now, and it's so cool that I get to do something like this. But it's tough. It's a tough call, because yeah, does Mario want to do something like that, or does it want to evolve? I think personally, as much as I want Galaxy 3, I do think it is time to evolve. Right, and like I said, I'm gonna be the first one screaming my head off when we see a next 3D Mario game at a Direct one day. But you know, I can't help but feel like, yeah, the aftermath, I'm gonna be like, you know, all right, you know, this game looks fantastic. Did it need to be Galaxy 3? I'm not sure. And again, I just, in my mind, I need to know, like, what is a Galaxy game? Is a Galaxy game about the controls and the space vibe, or is it about linear level styles? You know, with that setting, is it everything? Is it the amalgamation of it all? Like, what really makes a Galaxy game Galaxy? Because if it's just a Galaxy game by name, and the levels are just Odyssey levels, did they just do it to pander or what? You know, I mean, you do need planet hopping, you do need anti-gravity mechanics and gimmicks. And yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a very tough battle for Nintendo to figure out, but I'm sure whatever they're cooking, they're cooking. But you know, when a game takes this long to get a next, you know, entry, I wonder, like, I would love to know what happened, you know. I can't wait to eventually hear, you know, when we get the next game, like, what took so long? Because I'm sure that's going to be a lot of people's questions of, like, hey, like, this, it's been almost a decade. Next year will have been a decade since Odyssey. What was the process of taking so long? You know, especially because, like, Odyssey didn't even get DLC, right? It got Luigi's Balloon World and some costumes, but, like, you know, taking a decade between Mario's was, like, I almost feel like it was a bold choice to do. Like, I had a chatter the other day tell me, like, dude, I was 12 years old when Odyssey came out, and now I'm 21, and I was like, oh my God. Like, to me, that almost sucks. You know what I mean? Like, that makes me sad, right? Someone basically went their entire childhood with one new 3D Mario game. Like, I feel like that's like a lot. Like, you know, I played Odyssey when it was 2017. I was like, what? I was 21, right? And, you know, obviously that was almost a decade ago too. Boom, shoot me. But like, I'm like, okay, you know, I was older. I had experienced multiple 3D Marios as I grew up, right? Because, you know, within the span of 1996 to, you know, Odyssey, right? Which is like, you know, 20 years, I played Mario 64. I got Mario Sunshine. I got Mario Galaxy. I got Mario Galaxy 2. I got Super Mario 3D Land. I got Super Mario 3D World, right? It's like, I got a lot, you know? But a lot of people, you know, their experience was, hey, I played Odyssey, and then my next game was Bowser's Fury, right? And it's like, it doesn't hit the same. And I almost feel bad that some people didn't get to grow up. Now, granted, they get to go play those old 3D Mario games. They exist, and they were ported for people to experience. But you know what I mean. It's not the same, right? A lot of people, like, want to grow up with new experiences that they grew up with. And so I guess for me, I just hope that this 10-year wait between 3D Marios, because next year it will be 10 years, I hope it will be justified. I mean, I'm sure that game is going to be phenomenal, but I almost think it needs to be more than phenomenal, right? I think it needs to be like genuinely like one of the most special things ever, but I have no doubt it's going to be fantastic. And whether it's a Galaxy 3, whether it's a new original idea, whether it's, you know, a Mario 64 2, whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be peak. Guys, let me know in the comment section below what you guys want to see from the next 3D Mario. Is it Galaxy themed? Is it time for something new? Let me know. And of course, I love you, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.